What is up, everybody? I'm Alex with Swamp Rat Fishing, and this is Bass and Brews, the #1 bass fishing podcast in Antarctica. We're working on it. We're starting out, at the bottom, but I heard the bass fishing game is just blowing up over there. Tonight, we've got Lone Star Kayak Fishing. So excited to have him on. He was supposed to be on before. Life got in the way on my end, so I'm so happy that you're able to be here, man. Before we get started, just like always, we want to talk about Hookset Hoodlums. Ride with us or collide with us. Big things happening. At the time of this recording, you should be seeing the new soft plastic line. You should be seeing new shirts and more hats. So definitely head over to hooksethoodlums.com. Use discount code SwampRatFishing, all one word. Save yourself some money. For tonight's wonderful pairing, we've got Cape May Brewing Company. Again, Cape May, maybe sponsor me. You know what I mean? Like the can matches the branding, right? So we've got Tan Limes, a Mexican-style lager with sea salt and lime. Oh, that sounded fresh.
Nice. That was pretty crisp.
What's up, brother? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, man. And, for this podcast, I couldn't think of a more Texan way to come do it than to bring you guys Shiner Bock.
Oh, Shiner Bock. That's so good, man. I love it.
So I had to do the Texan thing and bring you a.
Is that a Texas beer? Cheers, brother. Is it? I never knew that. Like, first time I had Shiner Bock was in Baltimore, and I always just associated Baltimore to it. I didn't realize it was a Texas deal.
Yeah, no, it's made in Shiner, Texas.
I like it, man.
Very much Texan.
All right, everybody. So again, we got Lone Star Kayak Fishing. If you don't know who he is, you've probably seen his photos. What really kind of drove me to your page on Instagram, and you can find him on Instagram at Lone Star Kayak Fishing, and then also on YouTube, Lone Star Kayak Fishing. But your photos are so crisp and money. They are so good on Instagram. They are like next level. Like everybody else who puts out photos, I feel like we're a step behind. And again, if you guys don't follow them, as soon as you get done listening or pull out your phone now, look them up, dude. Like the pictures are awesome,
man. And I don't even know how I do it. I feel like 98% of this stuff has been luck, man, because I'm not a very technically advanced guy. I'm learning a lot of things about technology that I never thought I would know. So
listen, in the conversation that we had, I wholeheartedly agree. You're not the biggest tech guy, but you're killing it, dude. The pictures, so I've got friends that do like artsy fartsy stuff for a living, and they're like, oh, this guy's definitely gone to school. Like your composition's right. The way that you edit your photos, but you don't like over edit them. Like, dude, they're just so money. That's initially what drove me to your page. Like I kept seeing you up in my feed and I'm like, all right, me and this guy got a chit chat. Like he's killing it.
Yeah, dude. I just plug them in Lightroom, man, and just tweak it till I think it looks cool and then send it.
Dude, it works. It works.
That's all I do. There's nothing fancy. Like if someone was to ask me, what do you do? I have no idea, man.
Listen, and I can attest because I asked him. I said, listen, man, what are you using? What presets? Blah, blah, blah. And he literally said exactly what he just said to you folks on like, just tweak it till it's cool.
Yeah.
And they are.
That's all I do. It's that simple, man. It's that simple. For me, anyways. I know it seems complicated, but I definitely do not do complicated.
I love it, man. All right, man. How about you let everybody know how you got into fishing, kind of, and then we'll move on from there. So how'd this all start for you?
So this fishing for me, man, I used to fish when I was younger, and I actually quit fishing for a long time. I got super into bow hunting. I've done bow hunting for a long time. And I just work, things got in the way, ended up quitting bow hunting. Well, last year, I went on a family vacation, and my son's grandpa, he had a couple bait casters, a couple old Abu, combos. And I told him, I said, hey, man, you think I can borrow one of those? He's like, yeah, sure. So I grabbed one, didn't even know really how to use one. Went down there to the beach, ended up catching a couple bass. And I don't know, I kind of have an addictive personality. It's the same as hunting. It filled that, that passion, you know, that wanting
that
to
that
see
that like
something.
obsession.
Yeah, that obsession.
Yeah.
And as soon as that first fish, you know, bit and I brought it to me, it was game over, man. I've been religiously hunting these things down ever since.
I do like, and I've talked about it all the way back on episode 1 with Ramon Outdoors. We were talking about the relationship between specifically like bass fishing and hunting, and that a lot of people think that like who don't fish, who don't bass fish, that you're sitting on a bank with a cooler full of beer and a lawn chair and you're casting a thing out with a bobber and you're sitting there the whole time.
Yeah.
And where bass fishing is completely different is like you're hunting, you're going into their habitat, you're trying to find ambush points so you can ambush them kind of deal.
Yeah. And I think that's what's it's driven me, just the drive to find them. It's the, you know, it's just searching for them. You know, it's the thought of finding something that's elusive and bringing it to you.
I love it. So this is like last year, like 2020.
Yeah, that's when I got serious about bass fishing.
And then when did you get into a kayak, and what was your first kayak?
My first kayak I bought on that same vacation from a buddy that was just like, hey man, I got an old kayak. It's a Lifetime Yukon Walmart boat. He was like, you want to buy it? I was like, sure, man, I'll buy it. So I bought it, stayed at the house for a while. I would use it every once in a while because I fished a lot with my buddy out here at work. And we fished off his bass boat. And, well, he quit, went to another job. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to use this or buy a boat. And I was literally, man, like this close to buying a bass boat. And, but yeah, that's when I stumbled across that Old Town.
I was about to say, you basically, if people don't know, again, I think a thing you're kind of known for is that autopilot. Like you rock that autopilot, which is an amazing kayak.
It is.
And it even falls on my questions on like, and you kind of answered it, like, why'd you go with the autopilot instead of just a full bass boat? Because that autopilot is very similar to having a full bass boat.
Yeah, the reason I went with the autopilot was cost. I mean, if you're looking at a kayak, you're like, golly, that's expensive. But I was looking at a boat, you know. So the boat's $4,000 empty, you know. You take that trolling motor on a bass boat, and that trolling motor alone costs that much. Not even the boat or your electronics or your fuel, your maintenance, none of that stuff, man. So I thought to myself, you know, why don't I just buy the kayak? It already comes with all of it for the same price as just the trolling motor.
And I love that you went all the way there. You went from Walmart to Cadillac. Like you went, like you said, nothing in the middle, pedals. Listen, I don't even want to do the pedals. I didn't like the paddling. Let's just go straight motor.
Yeah, I did. I'm not going to lie, you know, and I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. And, it's been great. I was actually just talking to Brandon the other day, and I was telling him, I was like, man, to be honest with you, I don't know if I could ever fish off of a different kayak, man. I don't know if I could do it.
Seeing the way, again, folks, I'm going to keep plugging because I feel like you should be bigger than where you're at, right? Like your photos are great. You're just getting into the YouTube and killing it at that. But if you guys watch this guy, you're not a small dude, right? You're a big dude, and you're upstanding, moving around that deck of that kayak, easy peasy, right? Yeah. And then the other day you were in some gnarly chop and winds. Like I'm guessing it handled pretty well during that too.
Oh yeah. That boat, man, is incredible. I get so many stability questions on that thing, and I tell people, like, I'm 5'10", 245 pounds. Like, I'm not a small guy. I wish I was a little bit smaller, but I'm not.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So that thing, I walk all over that thing, and I've actually got to here. Hopefully, within maybe the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have an actual full review of that thing. I'm going to get on that thing, and I'm going to walk from the very tip to all the way to the back.
Have you done the side rail? Have you done the side rail walk yet?
I haven't. But on this next video, I'm going to take my tackle off, and I'm going to try to flip that boat. And I'm going to show people how hard it is to flip
you got to work. I don't have the autopilot. I have the Topwater 120 PDL, right? And so I've done the side rail walk where, like, I mean, I'm out. I did the same thing. I took all my gear off of it, which in a way will actually make it easier to be less stable because you don't have that weight holding it in a spot.
Yeah.
And I was able to walk that whole rail, and it was trippy, man. Like, that thing was cranked all the way over. I look forward to seeing your video. I wish I would have recorded mine. It was before I started recording stuff.
Right.
And I mean, those Old Town boats, like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, Paul Roberts, if you're out there, I know you're a Hobie guy, but you can suck it. I'm joking. No, I'm not. But like, Old Town is putting together such a good product, so affordable in the long run, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, $4,000's a lot of money.
It is.
But also $4,000 will only get you the get you the PA 14 on Hobie side. We're not talking, because you've got spot lock, right? Does that thing actually like stop and just stay in the spot?
Yes, it will. So like yesterday, I was fishing in 30 to 35 mile an hour winds with 40 mile an hour gusts. And so whenever you pull up on somewhere, there's two things I hate about the boat. Number one, I hate the color of it.
You have the teal one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that one.
I wish that Old Town would do solids, man. For some reason, I would like a solid color boat, you know. I don't know. It's just me. But anyways, the second thing that bothers me about this boat is when you do hit a spot, and I think it's mainly because I'm impatient.
Mm-hmm.
When you hit spot lock and you're fishing in wind like that, it will actually blow you off because it seems like the motor has a delay in it.
Okay.
So it's like it takes a few seconds and then it will pull you back up into where you originally were. And to me, like yesterday, I was flipping reeds. By the time I hit spot lock, I've already flipped in there. Well, now all of a sudden I'm drifting back, and it's just, I should slow down. It's just, you know, I think it's me nitpicking it, but other than that, I
was about to say that's very, because I'm almost the same with the Topwater, right? I am jealous of I think the Sportsman series and the pedal drives. Down along the seats, they have actual like an area that you can actually fit like a 3700 box, like those Plano Egg series. You can fit those directly on the side now. I don't have that in mind because I bought the previous year's model. But other than that, like, I wish I had complaints on this boat. Like, I love Old Town. This is the first Old Town I had. If I'm gonna upgrade, it's gonna be to one of the spot locks, the auto lock boats. I think that would be the next progression in a couple years for me. See where they're at, but they're awesome boats. They don't get talked about enough. I feel like everybody's like Hobie or nothing really.
Yeah. It's Hobies are nice boats, man. There's a older guy I fish with when I go back home. He just bought a PA 120, I think.
Okay.
And it's a killer boat, man.
It
has it has little, like a rod locker in the hole. Where
amazing.
Your rods go beside your seat. That's freaking sweet, man.
Oh, a buddy of mine has the 14. He's up in Ohio, and he doesn't even bring a crate anymore because all of his rods fit in this locker off to the side, and then he just leaves them in there, which would be nice. But then you're also adding. I mean, I don't know how heavy your boat is. My boat without the drive in it is 70 pounds.
Oh,
but
dude,
like
the autopilot, I think empty with no motor is 132, I believe.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I think it's 132 pounds. So
I mean, it makes sense. It's got to be a little thicker to hold that motor. But I mean, all those Hobies are the same way. Like, nothing on them, super heavy. So maybe Old Town will go to something like that.
That's pretty cool. You know, I mean, that rod locker, I was just like, man.
Their Hobie does have their storage on point.
Yeah,
it's on point. Yeah. But is it $4,000 for a non-motorized?
Nah, I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so.
He texted me when he bought it, and he was like, "Man, I hope I didn't make a mistake," because he really wanted the autopilot as well. But he wanted exercise, And I told him, I said, no. I mean, I don't think you made a mistake. the paddle is what you wanted, or the pedal.
Yep.
Excuse me, is what you wanted. I was like, dude, then go for it. I think you got a solid boat. You're still going to be able to fish in wind.
Yep.
You're going to gain leverage. I mean, when you hook a fish, you can just turn your fins backwards and pedal back. That way you can keep a tight line on it. I was like,
I think that's really key. And I try to preach that a lot about these pedal drives, especially the ones that, so some of those Hobies don't have instant reverse. Like that's a almost $3,000 drive itself to get the automatic. And I think you still have to flip a switch. But Old Town, Wilderness, anybody using a traditional prop style, you have that instant reverse, which you're absolutely right. You gain that leverage because you give up so much in a kayak.
Yeah.
And then you can instantly bring that up. How does that work when you're setting? Because I've seen some of your hook sets. One, I'm surprised there's not a wanted sign at your local lake for the gross injustice that you are doing to Douglas dinks everywhere when you crack them into next Thursday,
dude.
but dude, that video. But when you post it like last week, when you just that dude came flying out of those reeds, I love it.
Well, see, a guy commented on there and was like, "I feel like people only do this for YouTube." And I was like, "Man,
that
honestly,
guy doesn't bass fish."
Yeah, I was like, honestly, if you watch that particular hook set, I didn't hit it that hard.
No,
the fish came up, and then the rod was loaded. That's when the load come out, it just shot him like a rocket, man. And I laughed about it. That's still probably my favorite fish catch ever. That thing come out of there and went flying.
I mean, that fish is going back down, and Jerry's like, "Yeah, man, I got hooked before too." And then Larry's like, "Yeah, me too." And then old Ralph on the side, he's like, "Did you guys go to the moon? Because that MFer sent me to the moon."
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So that auto lock, does that hold you pretty steady during those hook sets?
Yeah, they're not moving you, man. When you hook that fish, you're there. You're not. Yeah. You two aren't coming together. Technically you are, but not like in a regular kayak,
Yeah.
In my old kayak, when I would hook a fish, I just reeled, and I reeled as fast as I could, just to try to keep, keep it tight, and not let them get slack on me. So with this one, I don't do that. I mean, you guys, anyone that watches my videos, you see sometimes it takes me a while to get the fish in because I just let them do their thing, man. I don't use a net. I flip them most of the time. So I blame you for a lot of troubles that I've had because I was like, listen, I want to be like Lone Star. I'm going to be boat flipping all these fools, right? And the day that I broke my PB up in May, I had two huge ones where I was like, I'm going to boat flip them, and I lost them, and they were all both like over 5 pounds. Like that would have been an epic 30-pound bag day if I wouldn't have seen your videos where you boat flip everything. Well, I don't. If it's big, I don't flip it. I'll let it do its thing. Those big fish tire out fast.
Oh yeah.
So I let it do its thing. I'll click my reel, let it take line, bring it back to me, and then I'll just sit down and lip them. So, but now, according to Brandon, anything 5 pounds and under, if I think it's at least 5, I gotta flip it. So, which I flipped like a 4 or 4.5 the other day, but.
Dude, I wussed out and I netted a 3 today. I've lost more fish this year because I lost my net in my car, which I thought had burned up in the wreckage that was my life last week, where my car caught fire in the middle of the interstate. Wow. Oh yeah, like 4:30 in the morning. I'm driving from my house to Philly. It's about a 45-minute drive. It's about 4:15. Just looks like I hit the jackpot in Atlantic City. Every light on inside the car and just smoking flames.
No shit, man. That's
so crazy. It was nuts. So tip for folks: if you buy a Hyundai, I guess they have a plastic radiator. I didn't know that was a thing. And a kid all of a sudden just burst all over the place. And rest in peace to old Black Betty, the 2007 Hyundai Tucson that I put 280,000 miles on.
Hey, she served you well, man.
She did. I poured a little beer out at the junkyard when they smashed her up. But the net somehow survived all of that, and I had to net a fish today because I was so I've lost so many big fish. The crazy side story is this area that I fish, there's a house there. Hopefully the gentleman that I'm going to talk about is not listening to this because he's a 9-year-old kid, and this is, as a whole, Bass and Brews is not appropriate for 9-year-olds, but he's a really cool kid, and out of nowhere I hear him go, "Hey, Swamp Rat," and I was like, "What?" I kind of looked over, and there was this kid, and he watched all the videos. It was really cool, and he's like, "Well, fish over there. I want to see you catch something there." So I fish right next to his house, and I hook into a big one. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, I got it." I go to lift him up, and I go to grab him, and I lost him. And this 9-year-old goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about getting a net?" And I was like, "Yeah." I threw him some stickers, and I said, "Sir, you are a gentleman and a scholar, but you got to go now."
Yeah. You're rubbing it in a little too deep.
All right, man. So your fishing style, would you say, I think I know the answer to this. Are you more power or are you finesse?
Definitely power, man.
So what is power fishing to you? Like, what do you consider power fishing?
Burning baits, covering water, man. Covering water as fast as I can do it. I mean, well, I say that, but then again, I do also slow down, but still power fish at the same time, if that makes sense. You know, I'll slow my retrieves down and things like that, but I'm definitely a power guy.
What do you think your 3 like confidence baits that you're gonna rock with, especially on the power side of it? I'm always interested because I'm a finesse normally guy, and I like to hear kind of the power side of it.
My number one bait that's caught me more fish. Well, take that back. It's in a close run. My top 2 baits are going to be a jackhammer and a square bill.
Okay.
Last year, man, down at Lake Kemp, I probably boated, I don't know, 300-400 fish with a square bill. And that's all I threw for months.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know why I brought my rods. I just should have brought one rod, or at least 2 with 2 different color square bills.
I was about to say two different square bills, right?
And all I threw was a square bill, a 6 cents Crush 50X, and that wild lava crawl.
That's a good one.
I threw it for months, and it pumped them out every single day. I didn't see why change, what you're doing. Like, it's
right.
Doesn't make sense. Why quit throwing it if it's catching them?
I'm with you.
So.
And then when it comes to the jackhammer, are you throwing that? All right. So there's a couple schools of thought on the jackhammer. I don't know if you heard this. So when it comes to rod, are you using a I can never say that word. Are you using a moderate? Yeah. Are you using that kind of rod, or are you using like a medium heavy to heavy braid strapped on?
So when I throw a jackhammer, I know a lot of people throw them on a moderate rod, and I actually switched this year to a 7.2 medium heavy moderate fast.
Okay.
And I started losing fish.
Really?
I lost a couple good fish, 4 to 5 pounders. And I thought, well, okay, maybe it's not the rod, because when I fish a jackhammer, when you guys see that hook set that I do, I only set the hook like that when I'm fishing jigs and things like that. When I'm fishing a jackhammer, I use it just like a square bill. I fill them load up. Yeah, I fill them load up. I reel into them about twice, and then just sweep them, and that's all I do. But I started losing some fish on a moderate rod, and so I went back. I throw mine on a 7'1" medium heavy fast. Those 13 fishing Omen rods.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
They're already parabolic, man. That's a hard rod to beat. I've got 4 of them because they're so versatile that you literally can use those things for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I've actually had the most trouble out of them that I've ever had. I've never had a rod problem with those until this year. And it was just a heavy, that one I snapped the other day, which was the replacement for the other heavy that the insert came out of the rod tip. So,
that's insane.
Which I could have replaced it, but I didn't want to mess with the warranty and stuff, so I just sent it off. And then the next one I get snapped into. I was like, "Are you kidding me, man?" But,
all right, so still on that jackhammer. So you're using a medium heavy fast action. You're using braid or fluoro.
Fluorocarbon, 17-pound Seaguar and Bizix.
And then again, another I think schools of thought when it comes to it is your trailer choices. Are you going? I mean, one side says use like a Seiko, right? A Gary Yamamoto Seiko, something that doesn't actually have a lot of action. Mm-hmm. And then some folks use something crazy, something with tons of action on the back of it.
So I use 3 trailers. I'll use a Seiko because those things are made for the jackhammer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Brett Height had a lot to do with making the Seiko as well as the jackhammer. But I'll use a Zoom Fluke, just the original Fluke, not a split-bodied.
Right.
And when I really want to get, a lot of water pumping, I'll use a 6 Sense Stroker Crawl.
Okay.
That thing is man, if y'all don't know, now you know that thing is a killer.
There's tons of action on that. I was throwing it around on just a regular jig the other day, and I bought a bunch of them, but I never really actually even saw it. But I happened to be in water that was super clear, and I was like, let me just see. And I was like, holy cow! Like putting Strike King Rage products to shame almost. Like there is a lot of thump on the back of those.
Yeah, I'll even throw them on a swim jig whenever I want a little bit more flash, louder instead of subtle. And I've caught I think I own stock in Stroker Crawls. I have tons of those things. Tons of them.
Yeah. Tons of them. I haven't used a lot of them. I'm getting there though. I'm getting there. Dude. And using them on a swim jig is a newer one. I mean, everybody listening knows me. I'm like obsessed with swim jig fishing and all of that you could do with it and move into. I used to go just straight subtle with it, right? Like try to be that sneaky, like power finesse fishing it. And now lately I've been throwing obnoxious stuff on the back of it to try to get. Have you used the 13 Fishing Churro swim bait?
I have not.
Dude, the boot on that thing is like no joke huge. And it adds like a bulkiness to a swim jig. And watching it go through the water, once you don't really need to reel it fast, but even like a slow reel, it'll cause that secondary action in the head. And that thing will as long as you got a good swim jig, so a Beach Coast or a 6 Sense, I think those two handle it really well with their head design. You'll get this huge, big roll back and forth. It's something I'm playing with. It's really awesome.
Right. I'll have to check that out, man. No doubt.
When did you start taking? So we talked about your pictures and they're amazing. When did you start kind of diving into this whole social media? And the reason I ask it, so I've had guys on here who usually they're in 2 categories, right? So we either have the tournament guys, and everybody hopefully listened to the episode before this with Nate Shagden. This guy's a stick. If you haven't, go back. Where I talk to creators, I like to call them, or influencers, right? Influencer sounds dumb, but it kind of is what we're doing, right? It's so what caused you to kind of step up your game on that side of the house?
Boredom.
All right.
I mean, boredom, I work on the road, which I'm sitting in my road home right now.
Right.
And we get during the spring and stuff out here, it gets super windy, windy, which it shuts us down for work. We don't fly arms and stuff with our cranes and winds over 30 miles an hour. So I got a ton of time on my hands at times. And I just did it, out of boredom. And then I started meeting some guys and, turns out it was, a lot of cool people. I built a lot of awesome relationships. And that's kind of how this got started. It wasn't, I really didn't have a purpose for it other than just, it was something to do and occupy my time.
I gotcha.
And now it's grown into something just way larger than that.
I mean, you got this sweet deal. I guess we can talk about that, right? Like your sweet deal with it's what, Eco Fishing, right?
Yeah, Eco Fishing Shop, man. Thanks to a guy I know, this guy named Alex. He helped me set up a YouTube because I had no idea what I was doing. Well,
so really funny story. I remember I was like, yo, man, like we're talking on Instagram, like, yo, man, like you should do a YouTube. And you're like, I've always wanted to, but I don't know how to set it up. I'm like, well, okay. Like, and I think you were just around to shift your name to Lone Star, right? So we did some research. We're like, this is a good fit. Let's go with this. We're getting it up. And then you're like, okay, so now what do I do? I'm like, okay, well, you do this. And I remember we went through like the whole thing, and it was super cool. And then it just like blew up from there, which is awesome. Like, I remember seeing the clips. Like, you would send me these things, and it's like you. I think in your road home there, like working on an iPad, editing videos, or in the truck. Yeah. Hopefully your employers aren't listening. Editing videos while at work. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, man. I've definitely ever since, when I started that, they found me by just typing in like autopilot.
Right.
And that video, I think I have a thumbnail. It was like maybe the second video I put on there, said autopilot at the bottom. That's how they found me, man.
That'll do it.
So they backtracked, to Instagram, reached out to me from there. I mean, it turns out they're pretty cool people, man. They're awesome. Honestly, sometimes I'm still amazed that this even happened to me, and that they trusted me to help build their brand. So
I love it, man. I love seeing that. I love seeing, I think, so every person I have on here, most of them I haven't met ever in person, right? Like, we've all met through usually Instagram, and it's all through like a no bullshit people. It's not people who are out there faking it for the next pro staff. It's not like, it's really easy. And I think a lot of people have a bad kind of idea of what this social media fishing community looks like. Like, they think that we're toxic, that we're just out to make a buck, but there's so many people who are out there to like, yo, let's share some pictures. Let's shoot some shit on DMs or whatever else it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's, hey, I want to do this. What do you think? Like, there's so much good back and forth and talk. And I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I've got several people, that I talk to daily now. It's like we've built more than just that, And if I had to lose it all and just keep those friendships, I'd let it all go today. No problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
I'm, like I said, I don't know how this happened to me. I mean, you can go check out my account. I've never been or claimed to be a part of any pro staffs. I've just never got on that train,
Mm-hmm.
Just never done it. And then they approached me. We had, I think, 3 calls over this whole deal, and ideas and what they expected, what I thought I could give them, things like that. And here we are, man. We just dropped our first YouTube video. It's an unboxing. The next one's the install. That video is already shot. And then I believe, as far as I know right now, their plans are to do the full kayak review on my old town. So
I love it, man. And it sounds like you have a good, like, a team, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just like you, I kind of held off on doing the whole pro staff thing until I got with Hookset, right? Because it's a team. It's more of like it's not such a selfish relationship on like, what can you do for it? It's like, what can we do together is what it sounds like you have there, which is awesome. That's the right way to do it, right?
It is. There was a few details we had to hammer out, but we got that solved. But other than that, they one of the owners, his name's Caleb. Dude is legit, man. He's a super nice guy. He told me from the get-go, we don't want you to quit fishing. If this ever becomes like a job and you don't want, if it kind of makes you not want to fish anymore, then that's not where we want to go with this thing. We want you to have fun. We want to make videos, do product reviews, fish, etc. So far, I mean, it's been a blessing, man. We're going to do some cool things in the future.
I can't wait to see it, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, let's do what bait, and I know you're a power guy. What bait do you hate to throw, but you know you got to throw that thing to get a bite?
I'd say the wacky rig.
Oh, no, that's it. Interview over. We're done. The wacky rig. Okay, hold on. Why?
It's so slow. I can't handle it, dude. It's like catfish. That is sitting on the bank, throwing your line out there with a cooler of beer and waiting 8 hours just for a bite. That's what wacky rig is.
Listen, at some point we got to fish together. All right. So are you throwing that thing weighted or unweighted?
Unweighted.
So just throw it out there. Get yourself a medium bait caster, right?
Yeah.
Throw that thing on like 1/8 ounce wacky, like a flick shake hook. You can get them from Mustad. It's the favorite I like. It's got like a tungsten head.
Right.
Dude, there's no more waiting. Like you're still working the column.
See,
but don't fish it slow back to you. The way I fish it is it's high percentage shots, right? Like it's almost like flipping. Like I'm dropping it into a spot. I'm working it a couple times and then I'm reeling that thing back and we're moving on to the next spot. Okay. Like you're literally spot casting each one.
Right. See,
but I'm with you. It can be super slow.
Yeah. The guy that I fish with back home, he likes to Nico rig a lot, dude, for like the last month, that guy has been wearing me out behind me. Like 2 weeks ago, I just pulled up beside him. I was sitting there talking to him, and I watched him just hammer fish. And I had already came through there.
Yeah.
And, we sit there and talked for a while, and finally I was like, all right, Jeff. I was like, all right, Jeff, I'm going home, man. I'm getting a little sick of watching you catch them. So.
Dude, the Nico rig is killer, too. I picked it up last year. Now that I did a whole video on it. If you guys want to watch my dumb video, go to my YouTube channel. But I broke down like when I would use a Nico separate from a wacky. And the biggest would be like, what's the right way? So one, it's the bait, right? So normally if it's like more stained water, I'm going to go to a big Nico rig instead. Right. I like the Missile Baits quiver worm. You can get them in at like 6.5 inch, but it's got a spade tail that'll move. Dude, that thing kills in dark water. Throw that thing on black and blue or like June bug. And all of this, mind you, is not on a spinning rod. Like, I'm with you on that one. I try to keep a spinning rod. Unless I'm fishing for crappie, I keep a spinning rod out of my boat as much as possible.
I don't even own one. So last year we got into a pretty killer Ned rig butt, and I had to borrow my wife's because I don't even own a spinning rod. I can't even cast it. I don't know why. Like everyone says, oh, it's the easiest, blah blah blah. I can't even cast that thing. I couldn't hit the side of a barn with it if I wanted to.
Well, I think it's because you know what it should look like, right? Mm-hmm. Like the accuracy that you should get, and you do not get that with a spinning rod. It's a lot of like, I'm gonna get in this area at some point. Bait casting, it's like I'm gonna get in this area. It's
exactly.
So wacky rig again. We gotta find a way. You come up here to the dirty South Jersey. I'm gonna put you on some flick shake wacky worm fishing.
And every time the fishing gets tough, I tell myself, sit down, turn around, get your terminal box out, get out a hook, tie it on. Won't do it. I'll go home. I'll head to the boat ramp.
I was about to say, do you fish? Do you fish like jigs, or is it constantly moving baits for the most part for you?
So whenever I fish a jig, of course, I love swim jig fishing.
Right.
I mean, that's another bait. Whenever I set the hook, I rock them with a swim jig.
It is so.
Yeah.
When you get that set,
I guarantee you, if they don't have a seizure once that thing hits them, then it's I hit them hard with a swim jig. I love it. But I love throwing finesse jigs, man. Big time. My favorite is a War Eagle finesse jig. It's got
I have to write that down. I haven't.
Yeah, check it out. They come in a 2-pack. They have it's a heavy 3/0 hook.
Okay.
those things. I'll take like a stroker crawl, or actually this year, I'll bite a stroker crawl like halfway down, put it on there. This year I switched to that X Zone. What is that crawl? Not the adrenaline crawl, but the little Finesse.
Muscleback, the baby muscleback. Yeah.
Yeah. And I even cut like 2 ribs. I'll bite 2 ribs off of that. And I mean, that thing comes out to be like that big, man. And it just, I love throwing those. I do love this jig.
Can't wait. I've been throwing jigs since January 1st. And I have caught, other than a swim jig, right? I've got that down, a regular jig, since January 1st. And I've caught a crappie and a bluegill on them. That's where I'm at in my jig fishing. And I want to catch them so bad. And I'm using the Hustler jig from Beach Coast, which is amazing. But I mean, it's going to happen at some point. I just got to stick with it.
I don't know why, but I mean, I've had my most success with a swim jig, and I've caught striper on these things. Not a swim jig, but a finesse jig.
Yeah,
like fishing rock points. That's, I mean, I've killed when I bang a square bill down through there. You know, when you catch 1 or 2, then the bite slows down. I'll always try to clean up with that finesse jig and just bounce that thing down those rocks, down that point. And usually, you know, if there's some other ones there, you'll walk away with another fish or 2. And that's, other than flipping jigs, I don't really throw a lot of, you know, like football head jigs, stuff like that. I don't like to fish that slow, man.
It's super slow. Grinding on the bottom is super slow. I'm with you on that.
You know, if I'm going to fish deep, I would rather crank. I love cranking, you know, but that's just part of power fishing too. You know, that's kind of my second go-to. It's this time of year for me is when I'll have a square bill or some sort of crankbait in my hand for probably the rest of summer till we start getting into fall for the most part.
So with all this power fishing, are you more of a shallow or a offshore guy?
I would say up to about 15 foot.
Okay.
Offshore is something this year, which I was talking to Brandon the other day. Y'all are going to see my content slow way down. And that's because this year I'm going offshore. And I'm determined to make it work. You know, as far as learning my electronics, which I just switched. I was doing pretty good with my Humminbird. But, you know.
Switched over to Garmin, right?
Yeah, switched to Garmin. So now I got to retune that thing. I've been having some problems with it. But anyways, offshore is like my main focus this year. So I feel like that's what I lack to becoming an all-around angler as far as bass fishing goes, you know.
I like it, man. Offshore is new to me. I don't know. Listen, I'd like for me, I've got to see what I think the bass is hiding in almost. You know what I mean? Like that obviously lends itself to shallow. I need to see that lay down. I need to see the duckweed sticking out. Like that's kind of where I should be better at offshore. And I'm glad that there's folks doing a great job. I want more of you kayak guys like me to go offshore so you can leave the bank to me and I'll continue to beat it up.
Well, I can promise you, I fished for 5 hours yesterday. Ooh. There was none on the bank. I can promise you that. No,
they got to be there somewhere, right? Big names like Alex Rudd, all these other guys. Bill Lowen, right? This dude's like a pro. He won with a swim jig in where a swim jig shouldn't have caught fish. Yeah. I think they're there still. But you're right. Yeah. Like
yesterday I had 2 bites, man.
Dude, that's rough.
They short striked it, and when I set the hook, it just pulled the claws off, off the jig. And I was like, plus, I mean, when you're fishing in 40-mile-an-hour wind, man,
it sucks.
It sucks. It's tough.
It sucks. It sucks.
I think a lot of people, a lot of the followers and stuff on my page, I don't think they see, a lot of times what I've got to do to catch all these fish. It's
right.
it's not easy, man. You got to go out there and grind it out for sure.
I think as creators, it's like a double-edged sword. I was having a conversation. I can't remember with who. We had a conversation about how sometimes we don't show the grind that we go through.
Yeah.
And again, 99% of us we're not getting paid for this, right? We want to put out good content. We want people to be like, yo, that's dope. Let me chit chat with this guy, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of grinding. There's a lot of planning with everything. And it's not, I mean, the bulk of it is fishing, but then there's all that extra stuff on top of it. And we as creators aren't good enough. I think sometimes we need to explain the grind, because I think some people think that you're down in Texas, right? That you're slamming 5-pound pigs every other cast and it's just super easy. And you go out for 2 hours and you catch 500 fish that are, you know what I mean? Like,
definitely not the case.
But then I also think the audience, in a way, has a responsibility. So when we do put out realistic stuff, obviously, normally you see lack of views or you see lack of engagement, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like a double-edged sword. Like, I think we should be more upfront about what we do to create this fishing content that people want to see. Because people say, like, oh, I'd like to see that. But then as an audience, folks, like, you guys aren't digesting the content we're putting out. Like, you wanted to see the grind, but then you're not watching the grind.
Exactly. And, yesterday I posted on my story, out there on the lake, and one guy messaged me and was like, dude, I can't hear anything you're saying. I said, exactly.
Perfect. I saw you post that, and that was absolutely perfect when you got back in the truck and you were like, hey, now you guys can hear me. I wanted you guys to hear that. That was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, because, I could sit there and make a post and say, I come up empty-handed, I was fishing in this, but no one will ever know if I really was.
Right.
But, when I posted that on the story, I mean, I was, a foot from the phone and you couldn't hear a word I was saying.
Yep.
So it is a grind, man. I agree with you. I mean, for me, the grind is no days off. I only usually have one day off a week. It's on Sunday, and I'm still up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I go to the lake. So usually on Saturday night, I drive home. I drive 3 hours home, spend the time, do the family thing that night, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Even on my day off, I go to the lake, and then I'll fish until, the family starts getting up, and then I load my stuff up and I go home. So that's when I'm at home. I usually only fish about 2 hours because I don't spend time on the water when, I'm only there on the water while they're sleeping, man. It's not fair to them, That's my opinion, because I'm never home. So
no, I appreciate that. Family's super important. All folks got different. I'm one of them. We got all different kinds of schedules and jobs, and we got to fit in.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the very start of this whole thing, you mentioned that you're obsessive. You got an obsessive personality. I'm the same way, and I can get too obsessed with things. It's better to get obsessed with fishing than other things, but
no doubt.
But it can take over, and sometimes you got to dial it back to be like, hey, what's important? I think that's good. You take the time, but it is a grind, right? Like, this is something we like to do, but it is a grind to kind of get whatever our story is out to folks to see every week, every day, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. And this week I had to resort to something that I absolutely from
throwbacks.
Yeah. When I started this page, I told myself I'm not gonna post old stuff.
Yeah.
I always want to post something new. And this week, dude, the last 2 weeks, I've just gotten beat down out there, which I haven't, besides yesterday, I only put in like 7 hours on the water, and this was going on the 3rd week, which is usually a day and a half for me. Usually I have, at least 15 hours plus a week on the water.
Right.
And I just haven't had that. I've been busy, and it's just, and then when I get out there, the fish, it sucks when you take a big break because you had them patterned. Now you don't have them patterned. So
right.
now it seems like now, no matter where I go, whether I'm at work or I go home, I'm starting from scratch. So I just fish the way I know, hope that I can find some. And then usually at home, I don't have time to do anything else after I've fished the way I know, so.
But I think there's something to that whole, so you can build a pattern, right? And you're talking about being a better angler. I think some of that goes to being real confident in the bait, whatever you're using, whatever whatever's in your wheelhouse, and being able to apply that to different situations, because there's a reason why that was successful at one point in time, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
I mean, yeah, if you put, I don't know, let's just say you put something that I don't typically use in my hand, I'll probably cast it 3 times. If I don't catch a fish, I'm setting it down. That's just, and then I'm going to pick up something that I know will catch one.
right.
And if you don't, my theory is they're just not there, which they probably are.
They definitely are, but they're not active, right?
Yeah.
As a power guide, like, they're not active. Power fishermen, I think, what is it? Kevin Van Dam said, like, he's going out and he's trying to catch the most active catchable fish in any stretch that he's at, right? So that's like the power fisherman's motto is you're rolling through. Yes, you might be leaving fish, but you're gonna have to work way harder for those fish when you can just go to the next spot, try to get all the ones first that all want to bite.
Yep. And I started out like, just the same thing probably everyone starts out throwing Texas rigs and, stuff like that. And I caught a lot of fish doing it. Now, hardly ever have it tied on a rod.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I caught a ton of fish with a Texas rig and a Cinco, or I used to throw those Guggen trench hogs. It's the only bait I ever really used of theirs.
Yeah.
Which, not saying that they don't have good baits. My opinion, they're just too soft.
I'll say it. I'll say it. Yeah. He's not saying it. I'll say it. I think their baits are junk. I think their soft plastics are way too soft. Even their lunker log is basically like dust compared to a Gary Yamamoto, which is very soft.
Yeah, a Yamamoto for what they cost.
Right.
You're getting one fish. I mean, and you better hope it's a big one, because if it's a dink, I'm pissed that I just lost that 48-cent Cinco. You know what
exactly. I mean? I think their Bandito bug. And again, this is not Lone Star. This is me. I think he brought up Guggen though, so he opened those gates. Bandito bug is a cheap ripoff of Strike King. And it's super soft as well. Those appendages break super easily.
Yeah.
Not a fan. I know a lot of people have had a lot of luck with them. Not a fan. That rattling Ned is garbage. That's not what Ned rigs are supposed to be. You don't need to shove a rattle in a Ned. Doesn't make sense to me. And they don't float. I don't trust a Ned bait that doesn't float.
Well, dude, I can't say much for their other baits, but I can tell you that trench hog, I caught so many fish on it.
But that trench hog is the same bait that Zoom has, that every private, you know what I mean, small business company all have that trench hog mold. Yeah. It's not nothing new.
Yeah. It caught a bunch, but I can also guarantee you that I went through tons of those things. I would even, it got to be where it was so bad I would bite them down, try to rehook them, and it was, like I said, I quit using them. I caught a ton of fish on them, but they're, at the end of the day, it's not practical to go through, go out there and go through $30 worth of plastics, because they won't. I mean, when it
says the power fisherman, right? Because no, because here's the thing, like, definitely finesse guys, we're gonna go through more. You're using hard baits. That stuff doesn't really deteriorate unless you get that thing jammed up and broken off, right? You can change out hooks. I can't remold a plastic.
That's true. But there are things you can do to help save plastics. When I do, like on some swim jigs, the big reason, my favorite swim jig is the 6 Sense swim jig, and it's because of that screw lock. Man, you can keep a bait on there for 10, 10, 15 fish probably.
Yep.
Now on other swim jigs that have like the mushroom style keeper, I just super glue them like everyone else does, or there are some things you can do to save plastics, but I see what you mean. Yeah, y'all are me. I do have a ton of plastics, and I actually use a lot of plastics, for trailers and like flipping right now or pitching, fishing them reeds like I've been. Golly, man, I've went through, I don't know how many stroker crawls. There's days where when I was really on them, I'd hit the boat ramp with a deck full of stroker crawls.
Yeah.
It was just like, golly, I went through 2 packs today.
That's the nature of the beast, right? Yeah. And what sucks is that it's 6 cents, right? They're not at the price-wise, they're not at the super top, but they're not at the bottom either. And you're like, and maybe in Texas it's different, but I can't just buy that stuff at Wally World or Dick's, right? I got to order them online. I'm like, yeah. So 6 cents has their clout worm. That's my favorite stick bait, hands down. And in June bug red is like money. And this year I went through a lot this spring, and I've never gotten an order from 6 cents that came in manufacturer's packaging. So I bought 40 packs of the June bug red clout worm, and it came in manufactured, like in the actual like boxes.
Oh yeah, the white boxes.
Yes, yeah. But it was like a whole box full of those.
That's awesome.
And it was just a note that said OMG, thank you. Because it was 40 bags of that. Is my favorite worm, my favorite color for the waters that I fish. So money.
Yeah.
Hey. And something special about that worm too. It's got those little cavities. Oh, so good.
Yeah. I'm big into their crankbaits. That's almost exclusively what I throw, except this year I've gotten on a big Spro kick. I just ordered a bunch of those Little Johns.
I'm about to say Little Johns are a big one, right?
Yeah, they come out with the like the deep diving Little Johns and stuff. They're still a compact, smaller bodied crankbait, but they get down to like 20 feet. And the rock crawler, oh man, I've caught a ton of fish on that rock crawler. That I think it's a RK55. I've caught a ton. My only complaint with those is I think their hooks are too small.
They swap them out, right?
Yeah, I just swap them out. It's no big deal.
But it's extra money. It's extra money. You're saying plastics are too much, but you're gonna swap. Yeah. No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, I agree with that because 6. You get 6's crankbaits, you can fish them right out of the box. Hooks are sticky. Everything's great. Not to sit here and act like a fanboy.
No, dude, I'll fanboy about them. Like, I think I have a sack. Like, they are a great company. They're doing a really good job of like trying to be all encompassing too, where you can get terminal, soft plastic, hard body. And I do think they're doing it the right way. I think they're doing it. They're not. Yeah. I just think I don't want to get too much. I just think they're doing it the right way. You know what I mean? Like, they're an awesome company. I will say the screw locks, I hate.
You hate them?
I hate the screw lock. So what happens to me is, and I don't hate it. I love the idea because it does keep it on there. Yeah. But I end up going through 2 sets of plastics because I'm a bumbling idiot and I mess it up when I bring it around, and then it gets hooked on the hook, but I'm not paying attention, and then I just rip the whole tail off of it. Like, it's not.
Okay, well, here's your solution.
All right.
Pre-rig them.
No, I do, and I do it at home, and then I just trash it at home. Like, I'm just like you say, you need to slow down. I need to slow down. I'm busy looking at my phone. I'm watching something on TV. A lot of my tackle prep, because I'm such a gentleman and a wonderful husband, is usually in bed with the wife, and I'm just laying shit across her, and she's super upset at me. And I'm like, no, I'm watching this dumb show with you. Yeah. And all right, maybe I'm watching it a little bit, but then I rip the tail off. It's just, I hate the screw lock. I cannot. It kills me.
Well, that's
everybody's going to it. So I'm probably the only person, and every company's going to it. I love Beast Coast fishing. I really like. I've actually moved primarily to them for all jigs, including swim jigs. Off of 6 cents, I've moved to Beast Coast, but their Hustler jigs were great And then they've moved to screw lock on those too. And I'm like, oh.
You know, the one that I think is while we're talking about keepers right now, in my opinion, I think the wire keepers are the worst. So you know the little wire like on a jackhammer, how it has that little wire that comes down the hook and then has a little hook back.
Yep.
I think those are the worst. And the reason why I think they're the worst is a lot of times when you slide that bait on there, I've had bait split. It's like it cuts them.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? It's not like I could pull it out or, some type of way to.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like them. I refuse to fish those. I think the jackhammers use those on purpose, though. I think that's a marketing ploy because Elastec won't split when you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. Well, see, even Elastec, you have to,
you got to like shove all the way up and.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to like stretch it out. I don't know. I can't stand Elastec. Man,
so you basically take like whatever you're going to do. Like if it's here, you got to shove it like way over the side. Yeah. Man, that's a bad graphic for the visual guys. But yeah,
durable, absolutely.
Yep.
Great product, I'm sure it is.
Yep.
I suck at rigging it, and that's why I don't use it. That's just all there is.
I've stayed away from them because they don't play well with other plastics, so it makes organization.
Yeah, I had one in my box. I had one of those razor sheds.
Done box.
Yeah, it was over.
All right, man. So we're about an hour. This is where I like to keep it or get it around, unless you're Paul Roberts, who just hijacks my whole show. Again, Paul, I'm still blaming you. But we're going to get to rapid fire, brother. Rapid fire. So without thinking, I want your first answer to these questions. You ready?
Yep.
Crocs versus sandals.
I'm going, whoa, what kind of sandals?
Crocs versus flip-flops.
I'm taking flip-flops all day.
First time ever. Yeah. First time ever. Cover or structure?
Structure. Well, they're almost the same thing to me, but yeah.
Well, I mean, cover would be like, so the way I think of structure and how it would be your bottom contour, right?
Yeah.
Your non-movable object cover is something movable, trees, wood.
Gotcha.
2 hour session. You get 1 7-pounder or 5 2-pounders. Which one are you taking?
I'm taking the 7 all day.
The 7. I'm with you on that one too.
I love catching bigs, man. I've been blessed this year. Caught a lot of them.
See, I don't get an opportunity to talk to people like me and you who've caught in big fish. Wild Bill, I'm going to call you out right now. Your PB is like 4 pounds, so that's cute. But when you get that 1 7-pounder, like it's a magical fish, right? Like it's.
When I caught that 8, not to get off topic this year.
No, you're good.
I didn't even realize how big it was. Like it came, the video, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. It came out of the water multiple times. I just knew it was big, but I didn't know it was that big.
Right.
Till my hand touched its lip and I pulled it out of the water. That's when I was like, holy cow, this thing's huge.
It's almost something weird too when you grab that mouth. I don't have an 8. I've got a 6-pound, 15-ounce, right? So an ounce off of 7. Mm-hmm. When you grab that lip, it's something about that jaw where you're like, oh no, that's something different. Like it's meatier. It's got a bulk to it.
That's a different breed right there. You know it.
I love it. Hookset or Guggen?
I'm going to go Hookset.
There you go, brother. That was the number one question there. All right. So if Bass and Brews is known for 2 things, we're known for 1, the number 1 fishing podcast in Antarctica, but 2, I want to know your top 3 sandwich proteins.
I'm not a big sandwich guy, but I would say
Wait. Hold on. Let's pause this for a minute. You work on the road, and you're not a sandwich guy?
Nah, man.
That's like the go-to.
I eat breakfast, and then I don't eat again until I come home.
Oh, you're just skipping the whole lunch.
Yeah, I don't eat lunch, and the only reason I don't eat lunch is because I can never remember to get it out of the fridge. and here in my...
You got to slow down. You got to slow down in life.
In my work home, my fridge is literally like 8 feet from my door. So, and I still can't do it. I can't do it at all. So I don't do lunch.
Okay.
But I mean, if I had to say a protein, I would go with, I'm going to go basic: turkey, ham, and I don't even have a third one. If it's hard times, we can go with some bologna. I mean, it is what it is.
Bologna's delicious. That's a northeastern delicacy from an Italian deli. Bologna's on point.
My son's grandpa smokes some bologna during the holidays.
So good.
Oh, dude.
Smoked bologna's so good.
Yeah.
Listen, it's been great to have you on. I want to have you talk about some of your sponsors, kind of cover that. Ooh, I just hit the mic. Cover that thing. But I've realized 2 major things out of this. 1, we got to go fish the wacky worm together. And 2, we got to get you to slow down. You're not eating sandwiches. I'm about ready to kind of be on my own without my family for a little bit. And I'm just like, I'm going to live on sandwiches.
Yeah.
You got to slow down and get them sandwiches, brother.
I can't do it, man. So here's on the road. I mean, you would think that sandwiches are a big deal, and some guys do pack.
Yeah.
They're responsible. Either that or their wives are handing it to them and leaving.
I love that. I love that in your eyes. You're like, they're responsible. They're eating sandwiches.
Yeah. So out here, I mean, a big thing is convenience stores.
Sure.
A lot of us eat out of convenience stores, to be honest. I mean, you're talking about beef and bean burritos, Crispitos, just whatever's in the hot box. That's what most guys eat for lunch out here.
I love a good bean and cheese burrito.
Yeah. Throw it up on your dash, leave it there for 5 hours, you're golden.
I love that I have these conversations at the end because there's probably not a lot of people listening. I can almost feel the explosive diarrhea just thinking about a bean and cheese burrito sitting on a dash for 5 hours.
Dude, I've worked on the road for off and on for 12 years, give or take. I'm still perfectly fine. Perfectly fine, man.
You just can't slow down, is all it is.
I just can't slow down. I mean, it depends. If we're at work, we're slowing down. But outside of that,
we're slowing down. We're editing. We're doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
All right, man. Tell people about where they can find you and who's helped you along the way.
Yeah. You can find me at Lone Star Kayak Fishing on Instagram. You can find me there on YouTube, although I've kind of abandoned that a little bit. But you're going to be able to find me more so at Eco Fishing Shop's YouTube page. You can also find me on their Instagram page, Eco Fishing Shop. And as far as helping me along the way, man, just I want to thank you big time. I mean, you helped me start my YouTube channel, which ultimately, led to my sponsorship. Some other guys like Brandon from Brandon Gone Fishing, great guy.
Brandon, if you're listening, you got to come on, man. I know we don't know each other a lot, but I like what you're doing. Lone Star calls for you. We got to have you on.
He's a great guy, man. I talk to him every day, and not just about fishing, man. We talk on a different level, and just all the people that's believed in me, man, that was there whenever I couldn't catch fish, whenever I was having tough times, that kept telling me, don't worry about it, you're gonna catch them, Then I'd go out there and catch them, but and then everyone's cheering and stuff, but just everyone in general, man. I'd like to my wife and stuff. Obviously, I'm surprised she hasn't ran me out of the house because all she hears about techniques and why I can't catch them and where they're gonna be, you know. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on too. This was cool. I had a lot of fun.
Dude, it was. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, I want to have more of these folks that are in this big circle that we've got going on of positive helping anglers helping anglers, and I'm so happy you could come on, man.
Another guy I would like to shoot out real quick. There's actually several.
Let it roll, man. There's no call music. There's no hook. You're good.
Eugene with bass snatching. He's he's up there around your area.
Okay.
He's giving me a ton of support, man. You know, always cheering me on. There's Hooked Up North.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware of him.
Yep.
Super great guy. Talk to him every day. And then Will Brewer Fishing. That dude's a great guy, man. He's helped me a ton with electronics and stuff, and really, you know, trying to learn how to read them and up my offshore game. So those are also some key players in this Lone Star success.
Well, again, brother, thank you so much for coming on. We're gonna have to do this again. And again, if anybody's listening, not only was he on, but this is actually the first episode of season 2. We just closed out season 1. First one of season 2. So thank you so much for coming on, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, Alex.
All right, man. We'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, brother. Later.